been a long week, but JJ and I get through it. He obviously talks about Morphettville Park, so I talk about the 4th day of the Flemington Carnival. Rail goes out 8 metres. It's a bit in the track intel that we've got there. There's some wind-related stuff, but also I think there might be some lanes as well that we need to look for. So make sure you check that out. Plays of the day. JJ's got a few. I'm a little bit buyer beware, I think, this week on Saturday, so just be careful of that. Pin the tail. Well, that's a fair catch, by the way. This is a bit in this because it's 11.5. Al Costello last week. JJ got absolutely floored again. This week it's Giga Kick. Fascinating horse. He could be on the upward spiral compared to a few of the horses that might be out the gate. Let's have a crack at the Jules and JJ show. Hello and welcome to the Jules and JJ show. My name is Julian Valance, joined, well, he's on the floor. It's been a tough sort of 24 hours for James Jordan. JJ, obviously, he votes heavily in the blue sort of area, and his girl went down heavily last night. You okay? You getting through it okay?
You know that's not the truth. You just, because off camera I sprayed you about the same intro you roll every week. So now you've just gone with complete fiction.
Oh, okay.
Donald, he's a hard man, Teflon Don, hard man to keep down.
Yeah.
He bounced back, but
yeah,
that didn't worry me. I don't get into politics much. The Melbourne Cup,
thankfully. Yeah, what do you think of the Cup?
There's two sides to it. One, it's great that a local sort of victory, and I every year when Lloyd Williams used to win it, or you see some bloke who's got plenty interviewed afterwards, he goes, "I've just won the Melbourne Cup." Yeah. 4 months ago, I paid $3 million for this thing out of Europe. I don't know what it's called, but I've just won the Melbourne Cup. And you go, that's what a dream come true. At least you get that local victory. On the negative side,
is your digit coin.
I'll say these poor bastards out there, if I can call them that. They spend the last sort of 2 months, they watch the Mackay, the Turnbull, the Cox Plate, Caulfield, Bendigo, Geelong Cups. They watch it all. They spend 2 months of their life trying to get to a Melbourne Cup. They get home after their cup luncheon and the wife says, "How'd you go? All that work?" And you're like, "Nah, nice choice one." So I sort of feel sorry for them and how they're going to butter up again next year. But yeah, I did my canasters on the race, which is never a good feeling.
I think a couple of the big corps as well did their brains on the race as well, and a lot of people can not really understand that, but it is just an island of a race, this Melbourne Cup. I think PointsBet got through unscathed, but it's an island of a race in that we saw it obviously when we worked at that other joint for a long time as well, when we were actually trading that race specifically. That mums and dads or the rec punters or whoever they might be just seem to load up into the roughies. It's the only race that they ever do it in, and that's why you saw this horse actually only pay $60 to tote. It wasn't a big syndicate or a big guys doing it, because the Betfair, the exchange price would have been much shorter as well if that was the case. It was purely mamas and poppers getting involved with possibly the Robbie Dolan story because he was on The Voice, or whatever might have been, the Aussie horse, Sheila Laxon probably, a bit of female sort of in terms of training the horse. That's why it was so short the totes. I think it was 60 across the board. So it's one hell of an island of a race though, isn't it, JJ?
It is, and obviously the clip's going around with you and I saying it can't win. And I shared that to my Facebook, and people write and say, "Oh, you were wrong about that." And I said, "No, I wasn't wrong. It can't win." And I don't know why they keep saying it. I suppose they just don't like to admit when they're wrong. But it can't win. It went around 260s on the exchange, and
well, I think you sent it out. I sent it out after having hindsight that I'd still have the same opinion, and I think you sent something saying I'm still right. It can't win. Even though we saw it
can't win.
It somehow did.
To wake
anyway.
Up to
that. All right, let's get into the track intel, punters. Right, track analysis here for Saturday, JJ. I think we've been on sort of the big outer track the last couple of meetings. I reckon maybe on Cup Day, but now for Saturday we go to the parks. Is that correct?
We do. We go back to the inner track with the rail out. It's 9 metres from the 1,000 to the winning post, 6 metres the remainder. Good 3, I reckon, we'll get on the day. Not particularly hot weather, but I don't think they'll water it much because there is a few scattered showers and the parks track does dry out. So probably starts on a 4, ends on a 3. I think the track will play fairly. Rail out on a tight turning track, you normally think, oh, this would be mad leaders, mad fence. I don't think that'll be the case. I think they'll all get their chance to run on from the back, and I'm not skewing my prices ahead of time.
Very good. So fair, even track for the Parks on Saturday. Flemington, day 4 of the carnival. Rail goes out 8 metres the entire circuit. So Derby Day, we're in the true. Cup Day, we're out. Well, so firstly, I'll say Derby Day, we were in the true. It raced beautifully. Yes, leaders struggled, but that was because of the northerly wind. It was straight into that face around the sweeping turn. Cup Day went out 2 metres. No doubt, lanes 1 to 5 were a distinct advantage. If you were trying to come wide, you were in big trouble. And the results showed that. Oaks Day, we're filming this Thursday morning. We go out 5 metres again. Wouldn't be surprised if lanes 1 and 2 are just non-preferred ground. Wouldn't be surprised to see some jockeys actually coming out to probably lanes 3, even those leaders. And then for Saturday, we go out 8 metres. Good for, probably get the upgrade at some stage throughout the day. 15 to 25 kilometres southerly, so very different to Derby Day when it was the northerly. So this is going to be a tailwind around that home turn. Now, it's not as prevalent as what it was last year. It was sort of 30 up to 40 k's an hour, and that's where you got those leaders being able to kick around the circle. I think they're still not going to be disadvantaged, but also noting that maybe lanes 1 and 2 could be off as well. There's a bit in this. In terms of the intel of what we think with the straight races, 1,000 to 1,200 metres up the famous Flemington Straight, I think outside lanes are going to be an advantage. So look for that. And the circle races, absolutely even. But the numbers that I have, don't even worry about the wind at this stage. Leaders, plus. Bit of a bonus there for leaders. So it may swing around to what it was on Derby Day this Saturday. Don't be shy of backing a leader or horses that sit on speed this Saturday around the circle. But I expect it to be even across the board. That's the track intel for this week. All right, let's get into the Group 1 set, JJ. It's known as Champions Day now at Flemington, day 4 of the carnival. Used to be called actually Family Day. They've sort of moved away from that, and now they're trying to get the best horses. And I think they've done a fantastic job in assembling some of the best horses in Australia for this final day of the carnival. Let's kick off with the Champion Sprint. Mark it in behind me. You see sort of the 2 horses coming out of the Everest as your favourite and second favourite in Bella Nipotina and then Giga Kick. And then you've got some other horses that are sort of coming left field. You've got horses like Bellatrix Star, which comes out of obviously the Coolmore where it ran second and ran a great job behind Switzerland back on the inside. And another horse that we've sort of earmarked out of Pandora's Fox, a horse that just continues to improve, Barrackeel. What did you make of the race? Again, up the straight, these 1,200 metre races, as we spoke about probably last Saturday on Derby Day when we spoke about the Coolmore for the 3-year-olds, they do have this ability to just sort of sit up. Now, bodyguard Hugh Bowman sort of changed that a little bit and went absolutely berserko. I think it ran a 9-second that first 200 metres. But what do you make of this in terms of a map point of view? And can you steer the punters into anything for the Champion Sprint?
I reckon a Giga Kick should be favouring this. Bella Nipotina, okay. I'm not convinced that her straight form is as good as his. I know obviously there wasn't a lot between them last start, but I just reckon Giga Kick back to the straight will suit him. The other thing I like about it is he is on the up. Like he had a year off and he's sort of building towards a grand final, whereas not sure Bella Nipotina's in that same boat. So I think he'll run a big race. You mentioned Barrackeel. It's a really nice horse. It'll win the Manikato next year, I reckon. But not sure about the straight for it. I just want to see it do it away from Moonee Valley. But really good race. I think Giga Kick's got a great chance.
Okay, we'll get to Giga Kick a little bit later too, because it will be our pin the tail horse in terms of price point. Yeah, it's a really interesting point here you mentioned, and Bella Nipotina and Giga Kick are actually 2 really good examples, but there's going to be more examples through these 3 Group 1s as well, which we'll get to, is that which horses on this day are actually over the top, and it's possibly an afterthought, and which horses are still on the upward spiral. And I think you look at it, the Giga Kick might only be 4th up. Bella Nipotina's on a pretty deep into her prep. She was deep into the prep sort of going into the Everest, and then she was obviously won last week as well, and now she's on the 7-day backup. So you got to try and pick the eyes out of which horses you think might be over the top for the punters out there and which horses are on the upwards trend, because that's going to be a key in finding your winners throughout. Just quickly on the sprint, Barrackeel, I just would have loved to have drawn an outside gate, as we spoke about in the track intel and the track analysis. I'm just worried about horses on the inside, especially up the straight. Not saying they can't win, but just as a starting point, I think they're behind the 8 ball. But he's going to be a ripper. If he'd drawn 12, I would have been backing him. So, and Bellatrix Star's not out of this as well. She's drawn the right gate. So I think it's a lot more even than what the market suggests. So I wouldn't be surprised if it actually becomes a lot more of a flat market. All right, let's get to the Champions Mile. Now, this has got a great field assembled here. JJ, again, market behind me. Good support sort of since Wednesday night. Pride of Jenny with the jockey change. B. Mellum goes on, replaces Declan Bates. Going to be interesting to see how aggressive Ben is on this horse, because I still think that's the MO for this horse and that's the way to win. I don't know if it's a horse that you can sort of sit on and expect it to have an 11 flat in its last 200. But so that's going to be fascinating. But Mr. Brightside's there, the 3-year-old Broadsiding's there, and Antino, who went through the absolute roof in the Toorak handicap. So there's a bit in this race. From a map perspective, well, I expect Pride of Jenny to, again, have the loose lead. Antino's going to be interesting to see whether they miss it or if they do jump with him. If they jump with him, he can settle in the first 3 or 4. I think Mr. Brightside will settle in the first 3 or 4. Broadsiding, be interested to see what they do with Broadsiding. I didn't really know what to do with him, if they'd roll forward or if they'd go back. JJ, what are your thoughts on the map for this race?
Well, I think what you touched on there is the important thing. The Cox Plate, obviously a ripping form race. It's just whether you want to back a horse that you think's going to get back. Like out of that sort of fast run Cox Plate, dropping back to a mile, I'd much rather back a horse going forward, like a Mr. Brightside with the shades on, as opposed to Broadsiding, who normally gets back. I can't imagine him going forward in this. So for that reason, I think Mr. Brightside's got a much better chance than Broadsiding. But as you said, it's such a ripping race. Antino, what do you do with it? Pride of Jenny, what do you do with it? Fangirl, she was playing last start. She Wolf came off its back and gave her a windburn. It's a really good race. I think the one with less traps is Mr. Brightside. He's got the shades on. He'll roll forward. He'll settle in the first 3 or 4. We know he's raced against Pride of Jenny, could absorb that tempo in the past. He's my pick, but it is a ripping race.
Yeah, I couldn't really identify anything from a market perspective that I was much unders in terms of having a bet, but I'm excited about this race. Probably excited about all the 3 Group 1s because they've got some quality horse flesh and they are going to be belters of races. So I'm just fascinated to see what they do with Pride of Jenny in terms of the tactics, because I still think her only way to win these kinds of races is to lengthen out the piece of string. And I just don't think if Ben's going to be cute on this horse and sort of riding to conserve energy, she's going to be able to accelerate with some of these others that I know have got 11 flats in them. They just do. Whereas I've never seen that from Pride of Jenny. Any thoughts on that, of how you think Ben Mellum's going to ride Pride of Jenny?
Must be hard. It might be daunting for him. Like, it's the first time he's ridden her. He knows he would have seen her 100 times. He knows how to ride her, but it's just going to be really hard for him to pull the trigger like that. I think he'll still do it. It's just, I'm not backing her, even though the wind might help her. But it's going to be a fascinating watch.
All right, so that is the Champions Mile. Now we get to the third of the 3 Group 1s on final day here. It's the Champions Stakes, and it's going to be dominated by Via Sistina. As you can see with the market behind me, she is in the red heavily. Look, from a market point of view or a value point of view here, JJ, there's not much in it. You either go, she probably has to regress from that Cox Plate rating because it was just phenomenal. But even if she does, she's probably still got, as we talk about it, steps. She's probably still got 2 or 3 steps she can regress and still win this race. It's just how far off the cliff she does fall. But it's hard to put it this way. If you're having a bet in the race, it's hard to bet against her because more or less you're just going out there saying she's going to fail. And that's probably not the way you want to be going about your punting.
You can't think, I'll be safe. I'll take a length off what she did there. It's like, you're still going to have her marked way too short.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's like Pride of Jenny when she won the Queen Elizabeth. Like, you can't price her off of that. You'd be on her at every single start. So I don't know what to do with Via Sistina. It was such a big peak. I can't have a bet in the race, as you said. I don't want to bet against her. I'm not taking the $1.75 in case she doesn't repeat. But again, a ripping race. Can't wait to watch it. But in terms of trying to give you a bet in it, I can't do that.
Yep. Okay, so they're the 3 Group 1s. As we said, they are sensational races, but there's probably better races you can be betting on throughout the day, both in Adelaide and in Victoria. That's the Group 1 set. Okay, JJ, let's get to your SA set. It's been a big week, but keep on rolling for us, please. And you've got a few more than you usually do. Going 4 horses, I think, this week.
I am. It's not super easy. I think we'll get a result, but I don't think we're going to shoot the lights out. If we do, thank goodness for that. But there are 4. The first one comes up in the first race. It's called Exo Pippi. For those that watch Adelaide racing, they would have seen it last week. Very unlucky. It's currently 340. I actually don't think that's a heap of value. I reckon if you get sort of 360, that's where I would pull the trigger. But it'll run a good race. I think the key jockey engagement there of Lockie Nindorf, who rode 4, I reckon, last Saturday, is poignant. So it'll run well in the first. Race 3, Carrarata, horse we've sort of featured a few times here. I think getting up to 1,400 metres is going to suit it very well. It was an excuse run last start. It was at 1,200. It was ridden very tight, didn't have a lot of room, and it is a horse that takes a bit of time to wind up, and I think is better on the outside of horses. So getting to 1,400 metres, it's $5. I think it's a really good each way chance. Race 3, Carrarata. Now this horse in race 7, it's called Howl. It is one of the great false alarmers or pretenders in history. People, no doubt there'll be comments below saying you're really tipping Howl. I'll very rarely do it. This is the one time I'll make an exception. I think the tempo is there for Howl. I like the Parks track for it. I think the track will suit it. It's $11. It might even drift. I don't think it'll shorten up. It's $11 at the moment. I think it's great value in race 7, Howl, but it is one for the true believers. And in the last race, Mighty Sapphire. This horse is definitely building towards a win. I think so long as you can make a bit of ground and loop them, which I'm expecting you to be able to do on the Parks track on Saturday, I think Mighty Sapphire's got a great chance. Chicado, the market loves Chicado. Every start it's had, even when it's been scratched, it's been hammered. I reckon Mighty Sapphire is ready to win. So they're the 4. Exo Pippi in race 1. I think there's a graphic probably behind you. Carrarata in race 3. Howl each way in race 7. Carrarata as well. And Mighty Sapphire in the last. 4 of the best.
That's JJ's SA set, as I said, in behind me there. All right, let's get to my Victorian set at Flemington. I've got the 3. I found this day as tricky as Cup Day. I sort of was happy to play Derby Day, happy to play Oaks Day, but this one just found there was some tricks here. Again, as we spoke about, those horses that could be over the top and those horses on the upward trend. Going to start in race 1. Number 9 actually comes from your place last start. It was a really slowly run race. So it's going to be interesting to see what the market does with it, but it's number 9, Angland. Look, it had every favour last start, absolutely, but I just think this race lacks so much depth, and this horse is still on the up. Don't know where the ceiling is. I love that its last 400, 200 was just about the best of the day. Now, it had to be. It should have been, because they were very, very slow. I think they were about nearly a second and a half, 2 seconds outside standard time. So there's nothing there in the overall time, but I just love the way it accelerated, and I think it sets up pretty well similar again on Saturday. So I want to be with England. In race 3, it's going to be a big tip for the import here, Kinesiology, and understand that. It probably starts much shorter than the current quote that is at PointsBet, maybe 250, 260. I think it probably starts shorter than that. Haven't seen it. Yes, these imports usually win. I'm going to be with Serpentine here. Now, it just got beaten last start by Akita Sushi in the Moonee Valley Cup, and I spoke about that when we were doing the Melbourne Cup preview, that I really had that race rating well. Out of all the Victorian sort of lead-up races to the Cup, it was the one outside of the Turnbull that you could actually trust, I think. Akita Sushi ran really well in the Cup and obviously ran 3rd. I'm going to be with Serpentine each way. Just think it can roll to the front. Might be really hard to run down with McDonald on, taking on the import, but I can understand the import will be very, very popular. And in race 5, well, JJ, I see your Howl and I raise you Hinged. This is a horse that you just can never catch.
Unhinged.
But correct, and been said many a times, and absolutely is correct. But this setup is just too good to resist. You could mark it 6-4, to be honest, this horse. You're getting 340, 350 about this horse. I just think it sets up really well. Second go, 2,000 metres this prep. James McDonald in the saddle, 55 kilos. If it can't win this, I'll be cured for life, and it won't ever win another race. But it just sets up too well, I think. So I have to be with Hinged. And however much hate you get for tipping Howl, make sure you can double it and treble it, because I'll be getting it for Hinged, no doubt. So there's my 3 selections for Champions Day at Flemington. Snap or don't snap time, JJ. I'll go first here, but 65 out of 77, going at 85%. We have correctly identified which way the market is going to go with these horses. I'm going to start in race 1. Obviously, I'm tipping England, but so Nation's Call, I just can't get it anywhere near that price of $5, $5.50. If you like it, wait till the death. You're going to get a better price, I think, about Nation's Call. In race 4, Front Page, just got beaten going for a 3rd, Kosciuszko. Just the top of the weights, again, around that $5 mark. I think you're going to get a better price for it. I think they'll back a few around it. So if you want to be with front page, go, knock yourself out. But just wait, you're going to get a better price, I think. And in the last, this is a fascinating horse because I think if it had drew the outside gate, it would be off the map. It's already been, I think, $4.50, $4.40 into about $3, $3.10 now with PointsBet. So it's been really well backed. Talk about Pisanello, which won at Sydney last start impressively, and it's got big numbers. So the market usually gravitate towards it. But as we spoke about with the track intel, it's drawn gate 1 up the straight. Now, it's going to take a really big effort to be able to, I think, win from gate 1 on the 4th day of the carnival. So again, I think at some stage throughout the day, you're going to get a better price about Pisanello. But as I say, it's got plenty of ability. And if the inside's okay, then it might not drift. But I just think that's the way the track's going to play. They're my 3 snaps or don't snaps, JJ. I think you got 3 as well, my friend.
Got 3 don't snaps. The importance of the don't snaps, we've talked about. If you want to back them, we think wait. If you want to back something else in the race and we're thinking they're going to drift, we're not always right, but what is it, 80-something% of the time we are right?
85%, my friend.
85%. So if there's something else in the race you're thinking, do I take it? If we're saying something else is going to drift, there's a good chance the one you like isn't. So here are the 3 I think will drift in Adelaide. Race 1, Rabtat, currently about that $3.70 quote. Thought it was lucky to win last start. Exo Pippi should have beaten it for sure. It was a great ride. I think it'll drift a fair bit out from that current quote. Race 5, Madison Kate. It sort of got some black type as a 3-year-old. It hasn't done a lot since. It is getting fitter, but gee, it's $6. I've got it marked about double that. So I'm happy to risk Madison Kate at the price in race 5. Then race 8, 1 start, 1 win, Schroeder's Mistake. Sort of been kept short at a couple of bookies. I think it'll drift out a bit. Currently about that $4.50 quote. Won't surprise me if the market just eases away from it and it jumps closer to $6 or $7.
Okay, so there's 6 of our selections. They're all don't snap. So as we say, maybe just wait and you'll get a better price for those horses. Okay, sort of very similar to when Homer bashed up the Hamburglar and he was already dead, but it's 11.5 in the way of mine for Pin the Tail. If you didn't know what we were talking about last week, we spoke about the Derby, El Costello. The PointsBet SP was $3.90 for those playing at home. I selected $3.50. JJ went at $4.80. I'm pretty sure at one stage throughout betting on Saturday morning, El Costello hit around $6. So I was like, well, we're going to give one back to the poor beggar. But unfortunately, no, it didn't work out for him again. So he's on the floor. Harris gets beaten. El Costello, he loses the SP. Giga kick this week, JJ. I'll kick us off. $6. I just think, look, it's around that sort of $4.40, $4.60 mark now. I just think this market's going to become a lot flatter. I just think there's some middle pinners, Bellatrix Star, even Barracuda to a lesser extent, especially if the inside's okay, that just might flatten this market out a little bit, and possibly Bella Nipotina does firm up because she's just such a popular horse. Some corps might need to knock her in to look after her a little bit. And that's why I've gone Giga Kick $6, but you're a little bit shorter than me.
I am. Firstly, are we really still doing
No firstly or anything. just get on with it. We're running out of time.
Anyway,
it was all right at the start. It was all right at
440.
It was all right at the start when we were 2 all. When you were 2 all.
It's gone to the dogs, mate. Anyway, 440.
They're eating the dogs.
Whatever.
They're eating the dogs. Okay, $6 me. JJ's $4.40. He needs a win. That's Giga Kick for Pin the Tail punters. Right, let's find our best of the day here, JJ. I'll kick us off because I am in the first. I found the day really tricky at Flemington, but let's kick it off with England. I just think it's got the best turn of foot. There's a couple of unknowns in the race, but I also think there's some big gaps in the market, some holes that we can take advantage of. So kick us off early on Saturday, race 1, number 9, England, around that 340, 350. I think he can be winning for us. You.
Race 3 for me, Carrarata. I reckon excuse last start. I like getting to 1400. Hopefully they can come wide, give it some fresh air. I think it'll attack the line. It idles for 150 metres and then it lets down. I think the 1400 metres will suit it. So Carrarata each way. It's about $5. I think it's a solid play.
All right, that's our plays of the day. We do this every week now, JJ. It is our hourly quaddie with PointsBet. Fantastic product that they've got happening. And especially on a day like this Flemington Carnival, you just get so many options that, within the space of 40 minutes, you've got 4 races that run for you and possibly you can get a big collect. So we're going the 3 p.m. hourly quaddie on Saturday here, JJ. So kicks off Flemington race 5. I think we can narrow it down with numbers 6, 7, 9. Then we head across to your part of town, Morphettville race 5. And what are the numbers there?
Hardest race of the day. Thanks for
Perfect.
choosing this one. Very thoughtful. 1, 2, 4, and 12 for me. It's tricky.
Okay, then we get to Rose Hill race 6. We can narrow this down. Now, there's a couple unraced, but I'm going to be happy to take them on. I only need numbers 2 and 7. So I think we might get a split here. 7's paying some good value. Reckon it'll run really well for us. So 2 and 7, Rose Hill race 6. And then we head back to headquarters, Flemington. It's actually the first of the Group 1s. And we're going 3, 4, 7, 12. We're going outside barriers. And that's how I think this track's going to play. So that's the hourly quaddie this week, punters. Get involved with PointsBet. It's at 3 p.m. we're doing this one, but on the hour, every hour. It's a bit of fun. You'll have fun. I had fun doing that, JJ. You can get back to your dog going berserko, and I'll see you next week, mate.
Sounds good. Hopefully everyone enjoys the racing on Saturday. Ripping day. Get yourself some party pies, sausage rolls, sit down in front of the TV and enjoy yourself.
Very good. See you guys. G'day, punters. Hey, we're now on Apple Music and Spotify, whatever that is, technically Rito. If you like, make sure you like and subscribe.
Imagine what you could be buying instead.
For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.